So you may have noticed that I don't edit my videos, and there's a really good reason why. And the reason is I don't know how. So if I fuck up my videos, I literally just start over. So this is actually the third time I've tried to do this video. The first time I fucked up my friend's pronouns. So I had to completely start over. And then the second time I was sitting on the couch when I tried to do it. Look at that, the light's all in my face. I was sitting on the couch when I tried to do it, and I move a lot when I talk, so the computer was just bouncing all over the place, and that wasn't gonna fly. So here we are. Hang on. Oh, it's hot. Here we are, third attempt. I'm finally gonna tell you guys my Vanity Press horror story. This is my experience with self-publishing, and so it's kind of a cautionary tale. I guess I'll get started. I'll give you guys some background information. I've been working on my story since look at that, the light's still in my fucking face. I've been working on my story since 2009. I got into it. It's a post-apocalyptic story. I got into it back when the whole zombie thing became popular. I watched The Walking Dead. I read The Zombie Survival Guide by Max Brooks. I read the 1 Second After series by William Forstchen, and I was just fucking hooked. I loved it. So I started researching, prepping, and the homesteading kind of lifestyle. I thought, and I still do think, that it's a good idea to have basic knowledge, basic survival skills if the power grid ever does go down. How to can your own food, how to grow a garden, how to hunt, that kind of thing. So, plus living in the backwoods of North Carolina, where a lot of people still think it's 1873, it's really not that hard to get into. So, anyway, the story, my book, actually began as a zombie short story. I had these characters that I'd come up with, and I loved them, and I wanted to do something with them, but I wanted to get away from the zombie thing and focus on, a more realistic situation. Basically a solar flare taking out the power grid, all electronics are useless, that sort of thing. So it's all about these characters that I loved, and I really wanted to see where their story went. So that's how I came up with my book, Hey Brother. I've got a copy of it somewhere. There it is. There it is. So this is my book. So the horror story begins around the beginning of, not last year, but beginning of 2017. I was trudging my way through the first draft. Now, I work at a gift shop, and we're constantly getting in new merchandise. And so I'm talking to the owner and the buyer about this new line of children's books that she had gotten in. They were the little cardboard, like toddler books that were about college mascots. And they were supposed to be like souvenir-ish kind of things. And my boss thought they were adorable. And I guess they were kind of cute, but I thought they were kind of ridiculous. But then again, I don't like football. So there you go. Anyway, so she's in love with this line of books, and she wants to see if there's any more kind of like it. So being the writer that I am, I looked up the publisher. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of the company because I don't want them to come hunt me down for slander and libel and all that. But let's just say it's a company that publishes books about mascots. That's all. Take what you will. Anyway, so I look up their website for my boss. We browse through their line of books for a little bit, and then she leaves to go to lunch. Then I go back to the homepage of this website because I saw something there that caught my interest. There was a submission box with the header, "Tell us about your book." Ooh, I have a book. I need a publisher. So I submitted a synopsis of my book that wasn't even finished. That was bad idea number one. So a few weeks go by. And, I'm still trudging through the first draft, and I get an email from the publisher. My heart just kind of, it didn't really even sink. It just disappeared. Ugh. Oh God, here we go. So I opened the email and it says they want to know more about my book. Ugh. Holy shit! I started freaking out. I was so excited. Oh, no, wait a minute, Ashley. That's what you're saying. That's not how publishing works. Yes, I know that. I know that now. I didn't know that back then. Back then, I was in this very isolated little writing bubble. I knew exactly jack and squat about the publishing industry. This woman at this company emailed me and said she liked my premise. That's all I needed to hear. So she explained to me how their company worked. It wasn't a traditional publisher. What they do is they provide editing, printing, and marketing services for a fee. It's up to me to actually sell the book. That's why it's called a vanity press. You pay for the privilege of seeing your name in print. Yeah, you heard that right. I give them money, they give me books. And so when she explained that, I kind of balked a little bit. And I asked her how much money. I'm not going to tell you how much money, but I will tell you that there were more than 2 zeros behind it. Okay? I was like, fuck, that's a lot of money. So I told her I'd think about it, and the book wasn't even finished anyway. And she was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Just let me know when you're finished and we'll move forward. Now, I did do some research. I bought a copy of the 2017 Writers Market and started flipping through it. And I immediately became very intimidated. There was a massive book. Where is my copy of it? Oh, it's over here. This is, if you've never seen it before, this is the Writers Market. Do you see how thick that is? This is for those of you that don't know, this is a directory of every current agent and publisher for books, magazines, nonfiction, whatever, in the world, basically. So I started flipping through this, and these are tiny pages. This is like newsprint kind of pages. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents and publishers. That's a very big pond, and I am a very tiny little fish. Okay, I thought there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to make a big enough impression for any of those people to notice me in my book. Honest to God, I really thought that the only way to get my book out there was to go through this vanity press. And I justified it to myself thinking, well, this is my career. I have to invest in it, spend money to make money, right? And maybe if I prove myself in my book on my own first, then maybe a publisher or an agent might be willing to take me on later. So now I've got this fire lit under my ass. I've got someone that's interested in my book, and I've got to finish it. So I buckled down and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote until I got to the end. Notice that I didn't say that I wrote until I finished. I wrote until I got to the end. So I have this system where if I don't know what to write, like I have a scene or something, I know what needs to happen there, but I haven't written it yet. So I'll just make notes that in bold red font, just a short synopsis of what's supposed to go here, and then skip it and move on. The draft that I submitted had 5 or 6 of these red spots. It wasn't even done. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. So I submitted this half-assed draft and waited for feedback. So I get another email about a week later. The woman absolutely loves, she's gushing over it. It's so wonderful. This is such a fascinating premise. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's move forward. So I'm assigned a project manager. That was red flag number 1. This woman was essentially my agent, so to speak. Okay, you do not get assigned an agent. Again, I didn't know this. I didn't know nothing about it. So I started working with this manager. She sent my draft to an editor. He edits it and sends it back to her. She reviews it and sends it back to me. I make the corrections and send it back to her. And then she sends it back to the editor. And this cycle repeated 10 times. And I never once spoke to the editor directly. everything was mediated through the project manager. That was red flag number 2. And I don't know if I still don't know. Is that the way it works in the publishing industry? Is everything mediated through your agent and the editor? I don't know. But looking back on it, that seemed really not right. Anyway, so at every stage during this process, I make a payment. Payments with 4 digits in them. I made 4 of those payments altogether. So it's going through editing, and by this point, it's coming up on the holidays. This is, Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2017. You guys, listen. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I went 3 solid fucking weeks without one fucking word from my project manager. 3 weeks! Okay? I emailed her at least twice a week looking for updates. Nothing. Nope. Nada. Zilch. Not even a courtesy email saying, oh, hey, I'm sorry. We've been busy with the holidays. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I didn't even get that. So I finally got a response around the 1st of 2018, beginning of January. She said, oh, well, we've been moving offices and the holidays and we had this big snowstorm and blah, 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 blah. I was like, I don't care. I'm pissed off. I was like, you should have at least told me. Why didn't you tell me that 3 weeks ago? You should have told me something. So she was trying to, placate me, and she offered to throw in some extra promotional material to make up for it. Like, bitch, I don't want your fucking posters. That's what she offered me. Posters. It's like, what the fuck? So I ended up speaking with her manager. I was so fucking pissed off. But the kind of person, I'm a pushover. I gave up. I was like, whatever, just fuck it. Let's just move forward. Let's get this over with. So the book is through editing and it's moving into production. So I started making plans for marketing in 2018. My plan was to do comic book conventions and prepper conventions to sell it. So according to the timeline the manager gave me when we first started, I was supposed to receive my books by the end of January. So I started making booth reservations at these conventions around my area. I scheduled 1 per month from February to June. And I also started calling bookstores and libraries to set up my own book signings. So I would have 1 convention and 1 book signing every month for like 6 months. Now you have to understand, I am a very, very introverted person. Doing all this self-promotion was torture for me. Okay? But like I said, I thought it was the only way. So the January deadline comes and goes. Or it's coming up fast. No word on my books. Nothing. I call my manager. Well, there's been a delay. A delay? What delay? I was like, I've got Comic-Con in 2 weeks. I can't afford delays. Well, we can ship your books directly to the show location if they're ready in time. I was like, no. You're supposed to ship them to me. What if they're not ready in time? If I need to cancel my reservation, I need to do it now so I can get my money back. So that's what I ended up doing. I canceled my first show. Then I'm getting ready for the next one. End of February comes up. I'm a couple of weeks away from my second show. Books still aren't ready. I'm beyond pissed off at this point. I'm livid. I had to cancel the second show because they still weren't fucking ready. So I was at work, and when she told me that they weren't going to be ready, so I called her on my lunch break. I was like, I don't want your, because my contract included ebook setup, it included this marketing plan and all this stuff. I was like, I don't want your fucking ebook. I don't want your goddamn marketing plan. I said, I'm willing to pay for it because I signed the contract. I said I would pay for it, and I'm going to honor my end of the deal, unlike you. But I don't want your shit. Just send me my books and be done with it. And then I had to go back to work, so I hung up on her. So maybe an hour or so later, her manager calls me. trying to, smooth things over. And I was like, no, absolutely not. This entire experience has been a shit show from the very beginning. I don't want anything else to do with you people. So I yelled at her enough to where she adjusted my contract. They took off the ebook fee and the marketing plan, so I didn't actually have to make the final payment. I finally got my books at the end of March. And of course, I was less than impressed with the printing quality, but whatever. At least it was over. Then I got to looking at the packing slip. I had received 496 books out of the 500 that I had ordered. Where's my other 4 books? So I called them again. Oh, well, we send one to the Library of Congress, and then we keep 3 here in our office, 1 for personal records and then 2 for promotional purposes. Fuck that. I don't want you to have my book. The Library of Congress is fine, but you need to send those other 3 books to me. I paid for those damn things. So the last 3 books finally showed up in the mail a few days later, and I haven't spoken to them since. The rest of, the self-promotion and the Comic-Cons, all of that's a story for another day. But looking back on it, even the editing service wasn't all of that great. It's, in the past few months, since this past, October or so, I think, I joined the writing community on Twitter, and I found 2 critique partners, Chip Fingers and Katie McGregor. And with their help, I have realized just how big of a pile of shit my book was. There were very weak plot devices. There were scenes that were completely unnecessary. I had the talent, but none of the actual structure and the craft to create this cohesive story. I'm learning all of that now in rewriting my book. So I guess the moral of this story is, if you're going to self-publish, that's fantastic. That's a beautiful thing to do. Do not use a vanity press to do it. There are much better outlets out there for you to use. Personally, I hate Amazon. I think that they are the scourge of the publishing industry, but I do have to give them credit because they have streamlined and democratized the publishing process. Anybody can publish a book now. I also highly recommend using Ingram Spark. It's a very user-friendly interface, and the rates are reasonable if you want to get hard copies. But please learn from my mistakes. Don't write in a little isolated bubble. The writing process itself is, a very introverted, singular activity, but reviewing, editing, networking, it is a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a community. You don't want to have to go, you don't want to do that kind of thing by yourself. So find a critique partner, find an honest critique partner, somebody that will absolutely shred your book. That's what my CPs do, especially Caden. That's what they do for me, and I could not be more grateful. They don't sugarcoat anything. If something in my story sucks, they let me know real fucking quick. And they point out things that I would have never caught on my own. And with that said, you need to have a thick skin. Your CPs are going to be your most valuable assets. And they're going to tell you things that you don't want to hear. The same thing goes for agents. That's the whole reason why I did this in the first place, was because I was afraid of rejection. I didn't want somebody to tell me how bad my shit was. I was sensitive. So the agents, they're going to reject you. Plain and simple. There's no way around that. They're going to reject you repeatedly. And it's okay. Everybody gets rejected. Stephen King was rejected. Everybody points out, J.K. Rowling was rejected, but that's another soapbox that I'll get on later. Before I started rewriting my book, I sent this to 6 agents before I joined the writing community on Twitter. I've already received 4 rejections for it, which I don't blame them. I'd reject it too. I've been rejected by 2 literary magazines for a short story and an article that I submitted. But I have had 1 short story and an essay accepted by literary magazines. They're small victories, but they're still victories. So don't give up. If somebody tells you that they like your book, that's awesome. Yay! But if they tell you they want you to pay a lot of money to publish it, run. You run away as fast as you can. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rant and the light in my face. I hope it's been helpful or enlightening or at least entertaining. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Apathetic Author. Next week, I'm actually going to record it here in a few minutes, but my next video, I'm going to be doing a live, it's not really live. I'm going to be doing a reaction reading of W.B. Welch's new book that she just put out called Blood Drops. She's got some really creepy little short stories that I got to read to you guys. They're so great. So be sure to like my videos, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon, okay? Bye!